Hey everyone, this is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row. Thanks so much for listening to the following broadcast, courtesy of Public House Media.
Hi, this is Emily.
This is Lindsay.
And this is Elizabeth,
co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Once you are done with this episode, we hope you'll come check out our show, Beauties and Headcanons, where we talk nerdy to you about fandoms, fan fiction, and all pop culture for nerds that you can think of. A new show comes out every Friday.
Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello and welcome to Your Soccer Passport here on Public House Media. My name is Brice Burge.
And I'm Ivan Sanchez Carrasco. Bryce, we took a break last week to give NFL football their day. And now we're back, baby. We got Real Madrid, kind of a Classico talk. We're going to talk Champions League coming up as well. And we're going to talk some EPL with Chelsea getting smoked.
Your Soccer Passport is sponsored by Squadcast. As podcasters that deal with analysts and guests from around the world, being able to record remotely is key. Current industry standards rely heavily on internet connection, but Squadcast changes that with a simple browser-based tool that requires no additional software to install. The audio is recorded locally as high-quality WAV files, then uploaded to the host computer, allowing some really great audio quality. To get started with your remote podcast recording experience, go to squadcast.fm for your 14-day free trial. All right, Yvonne, you kind of made mention of it a little bit. Madrid's got some derby action going on. One against Barcelona in Copa del Rey. You also have got the Madrid derby as well against Atletico. One ended up in a tie. One ended up in a 3-1 win. Let's talk about the Barcelona one, though, first, just because it happened sooner in the week, I believe. So Wednesday, Barcelona and Real Madrid tied. Malcolm scored in the 57th minute to get on the board first for Barcelona, scored second to tie it up after Lucas Vazquez scored in the 6th minute. I thought it said 60th, my bad. But it ended in a 1-1 tie in the first leg of this semifinal. What did you take away from this game?
I took away how much better Madrid looked than they had earlier in the fall. For the first half, they were much more direct. They had a better idea what they were doing. This looked like a completely different Madrid than what we saw earlier in the season. There's confidence now. They've kind of been building. They've been building, and because earlier in the season, we talked about this too, how we didn't have to run and joke, how they just have not been able to score. I think they went like 4 weeks almost without scoring. And now you kind of see a confidence with them. The back line, Varane and Ramos it took them about half a season to get off of summer vacation, but now they're back and they're playing with a lot more gusto and confidence, and they're trusting each other. And you saw that in that first half. And then when we talk about the Atletico game too, you saw that too. Even when they get down, they find a way to keep battling back, and that's what I just saw a team that with more. They knew what they wanted to do, and they felt confident, and they were okay with taking a few punches because they knew they were going to bounce back. And I think a 1-1 draw away is very good, and it's for a guy who watches his team and supports his team too. It's really nice to see how they're able to they've been able to collect themselves over the last couple of weeks and over the new year, and battle their way back. Barcelona. The game did turn once Messi came in too. Messi looked fantastic once he came in around the 60th minute. Kind of changed the game a little bit too, and that's just one of the best players in the world, being the best player in the world. But I loved watching how Madrid were able to kind of put their name on this game for the majority of it.
And that's such a weird aspect when looking at it, because statistically Barcelona had the leg up, I think, in this one, and that's kind of the real weird aspect of it all is that when you're lining up for this game in a rivalry matchup with one team that did not look very good, they've had to bounce back. But you get these weird tournaments. You're in the semifinals of this tournament for a reason, and it creates a great opportunity to really step up and shine and see who's going to take those opportunities. I thought defensively, I thought that they were pretty sound. I think they minimized the Madrid chances for Barcelona, but a lot of that was based also on possession too, right in between the defensive third and the middle third. So to be able to kind of go and take that little bit of a draw in that game, I think was really important for them. Let's move to the second leg then of this Copa del Rey semifinal. It's obviously an interesting situation now that you're heading into it. It's going to be on the 27th of February, so we've got a little bit ways out. I mean, things like transfer window may even pay a little bit of a difficulty situation here. So what do you really expect as these teams prepare for the next leg?
Yeah, I think it will be interesting, mainly because they're playing each other 3 days later as well in the league. But the Real Madrid's going to be upset that they didn't walk away with the 1-0 win. That 1-1 draw makes it, Barcelona has to come out, has to get that goal for that away goal kind of a thing to push it. But I expect kind of something similar with Real Madrid, kind of not sitting back, but they're going to look for the counter. They're going to be very confident and defensively in front of the ball. They're going to allow Barcelona to have possession, I think, for the majority of it. And they're going to be okay sitting back and looking to counter and hit them with a counterattack when you got players like Bale, when you got players like Benzema. And I think that's going to kind of be the play for the second leg. They're going to be very, if Real Madrid doesn't allow a goal early, they're going to be very content with allowing Barcelona to have the majority of the ball and the majority of the possession. Not parking the bus, but they're going to be very comfortable sitting back and allowing them to have the ball, and they're going to look to counter and hit them on the open spaces out wide, especially with how they kind of – what I've noticed, they do allow their outside forwards to be – they're very spread out, very wide, and they kind of allow them to play those back lines and attack the spaces that the outside backs of other teams will allow them to play, especially like a team like Barcelona, who loves getting back and using their outside backs forward. So look for that. Look for Real Madrid to counter, and look for Barcelona to be the team that attacks, because they have to, because they need a goal to begin with regardless.
Your Soccer Passport, Ivan Sanchez, Carrasco, Brice Burge here. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Your Soccer Pass. Let's move on to the second game, the second derby, if you will, for Madrid. Real versus Atletico. And Real Madrid looked good here. They had the lead, took home the win 3-1. Casemiro, Sergio Ramos, and Bale scoring in that one for Madrid. Griezmann scored in the 25th minute to tie it at 1-1 at one point in the game before it started getting out of hand in the second half. With this game, obviously they look different. Is that because of the quality opponent? I mean, Atletico Madrid is still a very good one, or did Real Madrid do something different in how they approached this game?
I think as they knew they had to win this game. I think that's what the difference was with in a two-leg series, especially if you're visiting, you can kind of sit back. You don't have to be as aggressive, especially once you get the lead because of the away goal. Here, you just saw them take advantage. They knew they had to win to kind of keep themselves and have a hope for La Liga. And I think that's the main difference. And you saw them, really take advantage and use. Again, they'll play out wide. They're very aggressive out wide. They like getting the ball out there, and there's the confidence of it. I think it was more of the positive they took out of the game against Barcelona on Wednesday. They were able to continue and push it forward against Atletico Madrid. And Atletico Madrid, again, like you mentioned, they were second in the league before the game. They're one of the best teams in the world, and they frustrate you. not hack you, but they make life very difficult because it's not a free flowing style of soccer the way a lot of these elite teams play in the world. And Real Madrid, because they were able to score early and kind of get in the forefront, didn't allow Atletico style of play to manifest. And I think that's the main difference. When you score early on Atletico, that forces Atletico to play kind of out of not the style they want to play. They want to be very concentrated. They want to frustrate you. And when you score early, that makes them have to kind of play out of their brand. I think that's what you saw in this game.
You made mention of the standings. Barcelona still up with 51 points, record of 15-6-2. Real Madrid 14-3-6 with 45 points, jumping Atletico 12-8-3 with 44 points, and a big gap before you get to Sevilla and Getafe. With the way that this league is starting to shape up, is it realistic to think that Real Madrid can start catching up to Barcelona? Is it realistic to think that the Madrid battle is going to be really the one to pay attention to? What should we be looking forward to the rest of this La Liga season?
Real Madrid cannot mess up. They can't drop points at games they're supposed to win, which they did a lot earlier in the season and kind of put them where they are. They play Barcelona in about a month, probably I think 3 weeks, right after they play the second leg with them. If they win that game, that puts them 3 points behind Barcelona, and then you start talking realistically, can they win the league? If they lose that game, Barcelona will probably wrap up the title there. But it comes down to that game in a couple weeks, which I'm assuming we're going to preview here too, because that's what we do. But yeah, I think that's going to be the game. Atletico or Real Madrid, Barcelona in 3 weeks, and that's going to be what's going to kind of decide if the league is out of hand or if we have a title race on hand.
Your Soccer Passport is sponsored by the Public House Media's merchandise shop on TeePublic. Best way to support your favorite shows is with t-shirts, mugs, wall art, and more, all available in the TeePublic shop. Visit teepublic.com/pubhousemedia. That's teepublic.com/pubhousemedia. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we will talk about some of the things happening in EPL with Chelsea absolutely getting blown out 6-0. What implications that may have on the future of Sarri in Chelsea, as well as some of the Champions League stuff coming up here shortly. Stay tuned to Your Soccer Passport here on Public House Media, sponsored by Squadcast.fm.
This is John Lauder, host of The Cheap Seats here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, The Cheap Seats, where we talk about sports from the fans' perspective. A new show comes out every Monday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of The Cheap Seats. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Welcome back to Your Soccer Passport here on Public House Media. I'm Brice Burge, Yvonne Sanchez Carrasco 2. You can follow us individually on Twitter at Yvonne Sanchez C90 and at that Brice Burge, Brice with an I. Lots of additional commentary there, so go ahead and check that out as well as our show handle at Your Soccer Pass. Let's talk about the EPL for a hot second. Namely, the very boom or very bust team in Chelsea right now. Chelsea got blown out of the water by Man City the other day, 6-0 in that one. An absolute drubbing with a full-on hat trick for Aguero. So it was not a good situation for Chelsea in this case. What did you take from this game, and what did you take from Chelsea so far?
number one, I think I have to apologize to Chelsea because when we did the EPL preview, I think I said they were going to start slow and pick it up. But I think my stink streak kind of has hit them the hardest long form because they started off hot and now they've kind of fallen off. And what I've noticed from this Chelsea this Chelsea team over the season is, well, they've lacked goal scoring. Their second best player, Conte, plays out of position. Sarri's kind of played him more up the field and attacking when things are going well, that looked great. But now that they've struggled a little bit and they've gone blown out and they're falling behind from the rest of the pack, from the top of the league, now he kind of looks like a guy who doesn't have a plan B and is running out of ideas. And you saw a very meticulous City team, a team who knew what they wanted to do and how they wanted to approach the game. And you saw a Chelsea team who kind of they definitely looked lost. Those were the kind of things I saw. It was kind of all the little things that people can have kind of pointed out over Chelsea over the season kind of manifested themselves in this drubbing and in the worst way, because by 20 minutes in, the game was over, and you saw a City team who was playing with confidence, a team who knew exactly what they wanted to do and how they wanted to approach the match, and you saw a Chelsea team who didn't, and they were consistently were struggling to find ways to just kind of battle. And yeah, it was a very telling game, I guess, in the worst way possible for Chelsea.
What's frustrating for me about everything so far is that when Chelsea has played their last 4 games, starting off in the FA Cup against Sheffield, it's 3-0 in favor of Chelsea. They go to Bournemouth and they lose 4-0. They come back and play Huddersfield and win 5-0, and then they go to Man City and lose 6-0. That's not a good streak. It's an odd streak that has no correlation, but it's the oddest thing I've seen in soccer pretty much ever, at least in terms of looking at straight-up box scores. To see somebody be involved in 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 right in a row like that, especially after how close they were with Tottenham, requiring penalty kicks to get out of the Football League Cup semifinal. And now it's an odd situation because you've got multiple games that are set up right now. You've got your round of 32 in the Europa League popping up, with them starting up on Thursday. You've got the next round of the FA Cup against Man U. That doesn't look like it's going to be a very good situation either. They've got a scheduled game against Brighton before they go to Man City again for the Football League final. So it's a real rough spot for Chelsea. There's no breaks. It is just consistent stuff. There's not a lot of time to have kind of your mid-season slump, because there's so many things going on with this schedule. I mean, at least until, I don't know, maybe March, this is going to be a very rough February for Chelsea.
Yeah, but you know what that tells me too when you mentioned the difference in scoring and how they're like jump up and jump down? That shows me that Sarri doesn't have a plan B and that he struggles to adjust mid-game or just struggles to make adjustments when needed. I think that's what that for me personally, that's kind of what it tells me, that when things are going well, what you plan out is going according to plan, but the second something kind of manifests itself and doesn't go according to plan, he struggles to adjust midway through the game, and kind of just, whether it's tactically or player-wise, he's not making the proper adjustments in the game. That's really hurting him, I think. And now you got United, who's on a roll, and now they've jumped them to 4th too. So pressure's really on Sarri right now for that.
Yeah, Chelsea's fallen all the way to 6th. I mean, they're completely out of the extra cup battle right now. Man City and Liverpool remain at the top of the EPL, tied with 65 points apiece. It's 60 points for third place in Tottenham. And now you've got the 3 teams of Man U, Arsenal, and Chelsea all within a point of each other, fighting for the 4th and 5th spots. And there's a 12-point gap all the way back from Chelsea to the Wolves. So and one more to get to Watford. So the Wolves and Watford are kind of back there too, middle of the table. Before things start getting funky down near the bottom of it. I mean, Huddersfield is still garbage. Fulham is still bad. And then you've got a big old fight with everybody from Crystal Palace to Southampton for 13th and 18th place within one win of each other for that last spot. So it is a little crazy once you get down to the other side of the table. But dealing with Chelsea right now, Chelsea, they're 15-5-6. They've struggled to make any kind of changes in game. This sounds like it's a sorry issue, and it's not necessarily a player's role, but that's not necessarily the storylines we're seeing from the press so far. We're seeing more of just like people acting, asked to step up and not doing it. Or in the case of Man City's game, it was all positives about Man City's greatness, especially with another record-setting hat trick, Muzaguero, into, I believe, sole possession of second place all time in hat tricks in the EPL. So even in Chelsea's loss, people aren't talking about Chelsea losing. They've been talking about the other teams winning. And I think that's been an interesting narrative about this so far with this team and its progression. It's almost like Sarri's kind of getting a little bit of a bigger learning curve than maybe he should be getting.
I mean, the thing with Chelsea as well, they have a history of rotating managers pretty quickly. So I don't have a problem with them giving him time because, as a manager, you want time to kind of go through your system and everything like that. I think what's frustrating is his two best players in Hazard and Conte have not played in their best positions all year. And I think that's where, as a manager, you not question Sarri, but just, what are you doing? I know part of it is because, for Hazard at least, is because they haven't had a forward who can score goals. They got Higuain for the second half of the season on loan from Juventus, AC Milan. So that will allow Hazard to kind of play in his more natural position as a more free-flowing on the left side and attacking. But Conte, who's the best defensive midfielder in the world, has been playing defensive midfielder all year. And I think, and they've been exposed. This isn't the first time they've been exposed by an elite team in the EPL. If anything, this has just been the latest example of it. So I think that's kind of the balance of it. If I'm with Chelsea and Sarri, is that yes, he needs time and he should be giving more than a season before they fire him. But also, he's not playing his two best players where they are best equipped to get the best out of them. So it's definitely a two-way kind of horse here with Chelsea.
And I'm glad that they're going to be sticking with them. At least that's what it seems like, a little bit longer, because I know that that's something that has frustrated me with other teams and, even in other sports too, when you don't have your best players where they need to be playing. But for the system Sarri kind of brought in, it is different than what they had in the past in Chelsea. So it will be... It may take getting those extra players to try to move some people around, and that's what they are going to be doing with those players coming in. So, we'll see what happens in the second half of the season. There's still lots of possibilities to go for that fourth possible spot, which is a good transition now to kind of talk about the Champions League, because we got to talk about it a little bit as games start in the knockout rounds. Tuesday day of broadcast with games between Roma and Porto, and then Man U and PSG. Those will both be on Tuesday. Then Tottenham and Dortmund, Ajax and Real Madrid will be on Wednesday. The rest of the opening round, first leg, will be next week, so we won't talk about that. But Roma, Porto, Man U, PSG on day of broadcast, Tottenham, Dortmund, and Ajax, Real Madrid on Wednesday. What is the most compelling matchup that you got here?
I think the most interesting one is Tottenham Dortmund is really good just because you have these two not dark horses, teams that could surprise somebody and make a nice run. I mean, the way United's playing right now, though, against PSG makes it really enticing, too, the way they've played the last month and a half since they made their managerial switch. And I know you were a big fan of the Roma-Porto match when the first draw came out, just because I think that is a very even matchup, too. So I like all of them for the most part. Real Madrid, again, has picked it up the last couple months, too. So when the draw first came out, we first looked at this, I think we kind of saw PSG way above United in terms of form and quality. But now all these matchups look good and compelling. And I think if I had to rank them, I'd go United PSG, Tottenham Dortmund, Madrid Ajax, and Roma Porto. But there's not much difference between 1 and 4, I think, personally.
And I think that's probably what I got it as. I mean, Roma and Porto is just kind of that one exceptional one, just because those are the teams that don't typically come out of some of the other power leagues that we've seen that have actually advanced to where they're at. I know Roma's got a 44% win probability in this one, 30 for the draw, 26% in favor of Porto, according to Google Sports. But I mean, there's lots of possibilities here. For me, the storylines are, will Tottenham kind of slow down and stabilize themselves before they get into their match with Dortmund? They've really kind of, at least in my mind, kind of gotten a little bit too googly-eyed when they take the field, and it's almost an immaturity that I've seen out of Tottenham when getting into these games with major things on the line. Compared to when they just play regular EPL games. So how Tottenham approaches the game, I think, is going to be interesting to me. And then whether or not Man U can continue this streak that they're on and snag something from PSG here. If they can do that, then I think Man U will win the round and move along.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you made a good point about Tottenham, that when the Europe games are online, they do kind of, there's a naiveness to it, I think, with them at times, and this is a learning process. Dortmund's the type of team who can catch you if the lights are a little too bright for you. So yeah, that's a really good point. I like that on Tottenham. And can they kind of just tighten up a little bit when it comes to playing Europe games? That's the question for them. And I agree. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, if they can play a full 90 minutes, I think they've got the star power to beat Dortmund. It's just a matter of playing that full 90 minutes and having their heads on straight. Let's wrap it up for this week. I mean, we're running short on time. So let's go ahead. What's your shout-out this week there, Yvonne?
My shout-out is Zion Williamson, Duke player, because he is an absolute phenom. Do you watch Duke do you watch college basketball? Zion is fantastic.
I mean, I do occasionally, not as much as I used to. I used to be really big on the brackets and everything, and then
he's 6'8".
I started doing those brackets a lot more, and then I realized I did it too much, so I pulled back. I will watch an occasional Purdue basketball game, or I'll go to NMU or something like that and watch a game. But
watch Duke, watch Zion. This guy is 6'8". He weighs 290 pounds, and he is an absolute phenom. He can dunk from this guy is incredible. He had the most incredible block I've seen against when they played Virginia, who was ranked 3rd in the nation. So that's my shout out. Thank you, Zion. Yeah, that guy is great. So yeah, watch Duke basketball. I know people don't like Duke because they're Duke, but watch this guy. This kid is phenomenal.
All right. Well, that's your shout-out from Yvonne this week. Until then, remember to listen to us, follow us, subscribe on iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, wherever your favorite podcasts are found. I'm Brice Burge.
I'm Ivan Sanchez Carrasco. Hey, Brice, one last question. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did. It was all right. It was a defensive matchup, which is all good, but we're out of time. So we will see you next week, everybody. Have a good one.